ready, true believers? Capcom and Marvel have joined forces once again to bring you Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter! One spectacular action! Don't miss out on the enjoyment of a lifetime! Behold, amazing fantasy! Don't miss the most amazing tag team fighting game ever! Are you ready for a new challenger? Victory! Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter!
Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus main review. Today we're going to be taking a look at Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. This game was released in 1997 for the Capcom PlayStation 2 arcade hardware. For American fans, you will definitely not recognize this character. His name is Norimaro. He was actually only available in the Japanese version of the game. They were going to put him in the English-speaking versions of the game, but due to cultural differences and several references of him stealing Chun-Li's panties, they decided not to. From what I understand, they actually have English voice samples and some English text for him, which is actually still in the ROM, but of course not accessible. I choose Sakura here as well because she's a pretty fast character and I've always enjoyed playing as her. The only thing that I'm disappointed with in this game is coming from X-Men vs. Street Fighter is not having Cammy. Cammy was awesome in X-Men vs. Street Fighter and made that game really worth playing. But I guess Sakura is a nice alternative. This game was released in 1998 in Japan only on the Sega Saturn. And then in 1999 it was released on the Sony PlayStation in all regions. The big difference between the PlayStation and the Saturn version is the PlayStation version you couldn't tag, which is the lamest thing about the whole thing. You couldn't tag during matches like you see me doing here because of the limited memory, RAM, and whatnot of the PlayStation. Whereas with the Sega Saturn version, it uses the 4 megabyte RAM cartridge, and it allows you to tag, and the graphics were just about spot on with the CPS2 version as you see here. So, it really was a good advantage to have the Sega Saturn version. Now watch when Norimaro sees Chun-Li here. One of the things I read said that Norimaro was really obsessed with Chun-Li, so that's why he got like all the hearts around his head. And as I'd mentioned, in his ending there's a reference to him stealing Chun-Li's panties. Which, as we all know from American censorship, just wouldn't fly here. Considering in Final Fantasy VII, Tifa's stretched out underpants were turned into orthopedic underwear in America, which personally I thought was dumb. But Norimaro here, as all of you anime fans might know, is what's called an otaku. He's like your anime manga fan. He's basically in this tournament just to basically get pictures of Chun-Li and all the other superheroes. That's all he really cares about. And you'll notice when I play as him, his fighting style is very unorthodox. He'll just like go crazy and start throwing crazy punches, and he'll just throw just about anything out of his bag in order to attack. See, as I had just mentioned, he just throws any kind of random stuff out of his bag. And what he's wearing is a traditional Japanese school uniform. And then, of course, would be his book bag. And Wolverine just owned him right there. And that takes care of Wolverine. Let's just get rid of Chun-Li here. The Versus series really has been like a fan favorite for ages now. All the way from your X-Men vs. Street Fighter, which of course is the first one, to even the more recent ones like a very big fan favorite, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which a lot of fans would wish they'd put out a 3, of course, because it was such a popular game. And of course now we're looking at Captain America and Ken. As I mentioned, you notice Norimaro taking pictures of Captain America there, because that's what he's in this for. You might have seen it once or twice during the play here, but Norimaro does a very strange move in which he trips on the ground, and a banana peel comes out of his shoes or his bag. I'm really not sure where it actually comes from. Ken is just a bit crazy at this part. I don't know why. And as I mentioned, that's one of the best parts about the Versus games is the quick tag feature, which sadly the PlayStation version lacked. And of course your Street Fighter characters here have the Street Fighter Alpha type, more anime-esque look than they did in other games. Which is a really nice thing considering all the other characters are pretty much anime-esque as well. From what it looks more or less like they wanted to get the Street Fighter characters looking more like the Marvel superheroes. That's why they decided to go with this style. Although I could be wrong. And that takes care of Ken. Yeah, I always thought Sakura was a cool character. She even appears in the Street Fighter EX series a little bit as well. But of course Norimaru has never appeared anywhere else except for this game, since he was exclusively made for Japan. But you never know, someday he might appear in some other Capcom game. And now we're going to verse Omega Red and Dalcium. And for the record, I hate fighting Omega Red. Just those crazy things that he has, those like ropes that he has, he swings them all around and like, yeah, there's no chance for you after that. Whenever I used to play Street Fighter before like this game, I would always call Sakura the female Ryu and Ken, because that's where it seemed like she was. Yeah, those rope things, that's what I was talking about. Those things he always hits you with. It's just so crazy. He has to be one of the characters that I at least like playing against. I definitely like the style of Dalcium in this game. He looks really good in his Street Fighter Alpha-esque anime style. That's one of those moves from Norimaru that I like the best, when he does that crazy swinging his fists. Cool thing about this game is when you press the medium punch and kick buttons, your partner will actually do a quick striker attack like they used to do in the King Fighters games. Like Omega Red just did with Dalcium. And just to notice how I did it with Norimaru there, he just started throwing stuff out of his bag even though he wasn't on the screen. I had a friend who used to use those attacks a lot. Just continuously do the grab and attack moves. That's one thing I like about some of these games, where they actually warn you with an audio cue that your character's running out of health. And that's a pretty cool move, that he just slams his head onto his enemy. But basically, that's Marvel Super Heroes vs. Street Fighter. Very good game. Only problem I find is that it's lacking Cammy. I wouldn't mind if she was here, but it's not exactly a deal breaker. But if you like Street Fighter and you like Marvel Super Heroes, then yeah, definitely give this one a try. Really awesome fighting game, but definitely a solid entry into the Versus series, and I would recommend it really for everybody. So definitely check out the PlayStation or even the Saturn version if you have a Japanese Saturn, and I shall see you later.